The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the producers and the individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the staff of the Sun Prairie Media Center, its members or underwriters, the board members of the Media Center Commission, Charter Communications, TDS Telecom, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Welcome to Simply Fun Cooking. I'm your host, Rachel Hanson, and I am so excited that you are joining us today. I have some really great recipes that I can't wait to show you. We're going to make a quick and easy and super delicious dinner and a quick and easy dessert. We're actually going to make a roasted chicken with asparagus and pan sauce, and then we are going to make some homemade easy strawberry shortcake, and I'm going to show you how to make homemade ice cream. So let's get started. I'm actually going to get the ice cream started first. We're going to put that in our ice cream maker, and that's going to need to sit and churn for a while. So I'm going to show you how to make that. We're going to get that started, and we'll set it off to the side, and we'll come check it a little bit later. So our homemade ice cream is super, super easy, and it's only 4 ingredients. It's wholesome, it's delicious, and you guys are going to love this. So we are just going to start by mixing together a few ingredients. We have heavy whipping cream, whole milk, a half a cup of sugar, and a splash of vanilla. And we're just going to whisk all these things together in our batter bowl. We need 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, and that's 1 pint. So we're going to use this whole container. Then we need 1 cup of whole milk. Half of a cup of just white sugar, and then we're just going to put a little splash of vanilla in there, just a teaspoon or 2. All right. Now the key to making your homemade ice cream is to have these ingredients nice and cold. I had them in the fridge for a while, but I actually even put them in the freezer for a few minutes before I started. That's going to help make sure that your ice cream solidifies real nicely, real quickly. So we're just going to whisk this together, just to get that sugar dissolved a bit. Now today we're just making homemade vanilla, but you could very easily switch this up a little bit. Instead of vanilla, you could put a little bit of mint extract, a couple drops of green food coloring, and near the end when the ice cream's almost ready, throw a few chocolate chips in there and have mint chocolate chip. You could chop up some fresh strawberries, and you could have fresh strawberry ice cream. And if you need or want to be dairy-free, we also have a great recipe for making this with coconut milk. And then you can have coconut ice cream with no dairy. All right, so after this is whisked up, all we need to do is take our ice cream maker, and we just put the top on here, and it just locks into place. All right. And then we just need to turn it on. We'll set a timer. And it's going to start churning. And then we're just going to slowly pour our mixture in. Get all that good cream in there. Now, I love making homemade ice cream for my family because you know that all that's in there is your whole healthy creams and whatever little bit of additives you put in there. We're going to make a whole quart of ice cream in here, and it's only a half of a cup of sugar, which is wonderful. I feel much better about giving it to my kids when there's not a lot of sugar in there. So as of right now, it's just sitting in here. It's going to sit and churn for a while. We'll come check on this later after we have our strawberry shortcake ready, and I'll show you. It's going to be nice and fluffy and frozen. Now it's going to have the consistency of like a soft serve, but once we put it in the freezer, it'll harden up a little bit more. But what's really nice is that there's a lot of air being put into our ice cream. It's aerating it really well in here. Even though it doesn't really look like or sound like it's adding a lot of air. And that's going to make a nice, light, fluffy texture. Even after we put it in the freezer overnight, it's still going to be nice and light. It's not going to be real hard like some other ice cream might be. All right, so we're going to set this aside and we'll come back to it in a little bit. Is we are going to get our easy strawberry shortcake ready to go. This one's going to bake in the oven for a little while, and then we're going to keep it nice and warm in the slow cooker. So we can get that ready, and while it's baking and staying warm, we'll get our dinner all ready, and all of our food will be ready to go. Hot dessert, hot dinner, cold ice cream all at once. So what we're going to do for our easy strawberry shortcake is we have about 2 pounds of fresh strawberries washed and the greens removed. We're going to put those in our rock crock with about 1/2 cup of sugar and a tablespoon of cornstarch. And then the juice of 1/2 a lemon. So take our lemon, cut it in half. We're going to save the other half for a recipe later. All right, now this is a nice big lemon, so we might have to put it in our citrus press sideways. But we're going to take a lot of juice out of here, get it started, and then maybe I can plop it upside down. There we go. So all the liquid that we need is going to come from this lemon and from the strawberries. And we're just going to put this on the stovetop, probably about medium heat, and we're just going to heat it up to a simmer. And as it starts heating up, we're going to chop up our strawberries with our mix and chop. And we're going to let this simmer and reduce, meaning we're just going to let the liquid kind of boil off. Simmer is a very low boil, not a big rolling boil, just a few little bubbles coming up. And I'll show you what that looks like in a few minutes. But we're going to get this going and get this simmering. And then we'll get our strawberries all chopped up. And we'll get our biscuits ready to go on top, our shortcake. So once we have our shortcake made, we are going to sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon sugar right on the top. So I have about 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and we're just going to mix that together. And we'll set this aside, and it'll be all ready to go when we need it. Okay? All right, for our shortcake that's going to go on top, this is a super easy recipe. We are going to make it from scratch, but it's actually 2 ingredients. That's it. We are going to use some self-rising flour and some heavy cream. Now, what's really neat about using your heavy cream is that we don't need to have butter and milk and everything in our shortcake, because the heavy cream does have those extra fats in there. It's going to replace the need for the butter. So just mixing some heavy cream and some self-rising flour is all we need to make perfect shortcake. Now, if you don't have self-rising flour at home, you can make your own mix, and I'm going to show you how to do that. It's really simple. So we're going to start with some flour. Just 2 cups. We'll put that in our batter bowl to mix up. All right, so 2 cups of flour. We need 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And then just 1/2 teaspoon of salt. All right, we're going to go ahead and mix this all together. Just mix it together a little bit. So that's all self-rising flour is. The flour just has your baking powder and your salt already mixed in. Like I said, it's super easy to just put this together yourself too. All right, after we have that ready, we are going to add our heavy whipping cream. We need about 1.5 cups. we'll just pour that in. And we're just going to mix this a little bit to combine it. Now when you're making a dough, whether it's for biscuits or pancake batter, it's okay to leave a little bit of the powder in there. You don't want to overmix it. When you overmix it, you're going to get a flatter consistency when it cooks. When you have those little pockets with the powder still in there, what actually happens when you are cooking is the moisture, in this case from the cream, as it's rising through your dish, it's actually going to moisturize those little pockets of the powder, of the flour, and then it's going to leave little air bubbles in there. And then that gives you a nice, light, fluffy texture. But if you mix out and break up all of those little pieces, you don't get that. That's why you often see batter is supposed to be a little bit lumpy. Once we have our shortcake dough ready to go, we're just going to go check our strawberries here. Start chopping them up a little bit. They smell so nice. It smells like summer over here. This will be a great recipe to make in the summer with all those fresh strawberries. Another great tip, this is a great recipe to make if you have some strawberries that are maybe starting to reach their end, because you are going to cook them and break them down anyway. Actually, strawberries, when they're just a little bit overripe, get an extra sweet flavor. And so that'll make for an extra sweet dish without adding extra sugar. So we're just chopping this up a little bit and stirring it around. We're going to just kind of keep doing this every few minutes until our strawberries are broken down and we're starting to get a simmer. And then I'll show you what that looks like. Our strawberries are starting to get to a simmer. You can see just a few bubbles coming up here. We're not at a rolling boil, like I mentioned. We're just kind of simmering. You can see the steam coming off. That's some of that moisture coming off of the dish here. So we're going to let that simmer just about 10 minutes, and then we're going to get our shortcake on top of here. We're going to throw it in the oven at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. So all we need to do is we're just going to take our large scoop, and we're going to scoop up some of our dough, and we'll just plop it right in there. Using the scoop helps make these little balls of shortcake without getting messy hands rolling them in your hands. It's very handy. They also come in really handy for making pancakes, especially if you have any little kids or big kids in your house that like Mickey Mouse pancakes. You can scoop out your pancake batter and make perfect circles right in your pan, uniform sizes and shapes to make the perfect Mickey, and then use the small to make the ears. All right, so we're just going to continue to put balls of this dough in here until it's all used up. Right before we put this in the oven, don't forget to sprinkle that cinnamon sugar right over your biscuits, right over that shortcake. We'll just sprinkle it all over, and then this will be all ready to bake. All right, we're going to put this in the oven. We'll get started on our chicken, and we'll check on this in about 20 minutes. We are going to get our chicken dish ready while our dessert is getting cooked in the oven. So we are going to start with, these are boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I like using chicken thighs just because they have a little bit more flavor, that dark meat. And we're taking some Dijon mustard rub and just sprinkling it on top. Just going to press it in a little bit. We're just going to season our chicken a little bit, and then we're going to sear it in our pan. Now, as I make this today, I want you to think about the flavors that you and your family love. Because once you know how to make a dish like this, it is so easy to cater it to things that your family enjoys, ingredients that you already have on hand. Maybe some leftover veggies that need to be used up, maybe vegetables that are in season. It's a perfect recipe for that. So kind of think about that as you're watching me cook this today. So we've got our pan heated up here, just a little bit of oil in there. And we're just going to put our chicken in, and we're going to sear it. Now what searing is putting it in a hot pan And the thing about searing is you have to put it in the pan and leave it. You can't touch it. All right, we're going to see if our pan's ready. You got to heat up with a little bit of oil. A quick and easy way to see if your pan is hot enough is just take a little bit of water in your hands. And if you splash it in there, you hear that sizzle, you know your pan is hot and ready to go. Perfect. So we are going to take our chicken and we're just going to lay it in the pan. Ah, there's the sizzle. Now remember, when we're searing our meat, we're going to lay it in there and we're not going to touch it. Just a minute or two on each side. Now we're only cooking it for about a minute or two on each side, so it's not going to be fully cooked when we take it out, but it's going to finish cooking in the oven in a few minutes. All right, while our chicken is cooking, we are going to get our vegetables ready to go. We're going to take our onion, we're just going to cut it in half, and we're going to use our simple slicer on the number 3 setting, so nice and thick, and we're going to slice this up. All right, so there's our onion. Just give it a minute, it'll be fine. Oh my God, I should have done the onion last. I should know better. I'm an idiot. Why did I not remember that? Do the onion last and then just take a minute. Okay, we're good. All right, so we've got our onion sliced up. We're going to slice up some mushrooms. Now these are cremini mushrooms or baby bello. Now I know you can buy mushrooms already sliced at the grocery store, but they actually cook differently than when you slice them fresh right before you throw them in the pan. So just get the whole ones, rinse them off. They're quick and easy to slice. Just use that quick slice. You can put 3 or 4 on here at a time, and we can slice them up. And while you're doing this, don't forget to check that chicken. Remember, we didn't touch it at all. So now it's been a minute, and so we're going to go ahead and we're going to flip it over. And you're going to see that you're getting that nice browning on the one side of your chicken. So we'll go ahead and flip that over. And we're going to let it cook on this side for another minute. All right, so there's our mushrooms. And we are going to cut our asparagus into 1-inch chunks. Now when you buy your asparagus, look for the tiny little stalks. Those are going to be sweeter and more tender. When they get thicker, they're not as delicious. And when it says to trim asparagus, it's really easy because asparagus has a really tough woody part at the bottom and then the tender, delicious part at the top. And the easy way to figure out where that woody part ends and the delicious part starts is just to bend it, and it's going to snap in just the right spot. So it's very easy to just take a couple at a time, just bend them, and they're going to snap right where they need to be. And that is how you trim asparagus. All right, so we go ahead and have our ends trimmed. We're just going to take these and cut them into about 1-inch pieces. Does not have to be perfect. All right, and our chicken is almost done. Now remember, it's not going to be fully cooked at this point, but we are going to take it out of the pan and just let it rest for a couple minutes. And we're going to get our vegetables ready in the pan. Now that our chicken has had a chance to sear on both sides, we're just going to take it out and we're going to set it aside. We're going to come back to this later. So just set it on a plate and we'll let it rest. And we're going to get our vegetables ready. Now the pan we're using here today, this is brand new from Pampered Chef. This is our non-stick stainless steel. So what's really cool and really unique about this pan is that it has that beautiful look of stainless steel. It also has the ability to sear meats just like stainless steel. But you'll notice it has this non-stick pattern in there as well, which is going to make it really, really easy to clean up. So what you see in the pan after cooking the chicken, you see a little bit that's stuck to the bottom here. This is called the fond. And a lot of people will take this pan and wash it off. Don't do that. There is so much flavor sitting in this pan, and we're going to use it right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to deglaze the pan. And what that means is we're pulling the fond up off the bottom of the pan, and we're going to use it to incorporate all these flavors into the rest of our dish. So what we're going to do is we are going to start by adding our onions and our mushrooms. And we're going to saute those up a little bit. Now we have some oil in the pan from before we started the chicken, plus a little bit of that juice from the chicken as well. So we don't need to add anything more. We're just going to put this in the pan and just kind of saute it up a little bit. Stir it around, start getting some of those flavors to mix. Start getting some of those flavors from the chicken to coat the vegetables just a little bit. As you're sauteing your veggies, make sure you're scraping the bottom of the pan just a little bit, getting all that fond off of there. Utilize it in your dish. And while these are sauteing up, we are also going to add a little bit of garlic. I'm going to add about 3 cloves. We'll add a little bit of salt. And then we'll just continue to saute this a little bit, just until the onion starts to become a little bit translucent, become a little bit clear, and the mushrooms start to soften just a hair. Then we are going to add in our asparagus and our tomatoes and some liquid. All right, while that's finishing up, I'm going to get our tomatoes ready. We just have little grape or cherry tomatoes, and we just need to cut them all in half. And the quick and easy way to do that is with the close-in cut. So you take about half of your tomatoes, at a time. Just put them in there, set your knife on the edge, close it up, and cut them in half. Just make sure you can always see the tip of that knife sticking out so it doesn't get stuck inside. And then there you go, they're all cut in half. So with 2 swipes of the knife, we can have all of our tomatoes cut in half. A whole pint. So stick them in there. Knife on the edge, close it up, and cut. All right, so our tomatoes are ready. All right. You can see that our onions are a little less stiff. They're lightening up just a little bit. You can see a little bit darker color on that mushroom. That's from the fond that was in the pan. Cooking down just a hair. Now to add to our dish, we are going to add a little bit more of that Dijon mustard rub. This is the same rub that we put on our chicken. We're still adding a little bit to the vegetables to make sure they have that same flavor. It's going to bring the whole dish together. We are going to add some lemon juice. So here's the other half of the lemon from earlier. And then we're going to add either 1/3 cup of chicken broth or beef broth if you decide to make this with some beef products, or wine. So we're going to add a little bit of white wine, just 1/3 cup. All right, we're going to let this all heat up. Adding the liquid in there helps to get the rest of that fond off the bottom of your pan. And it's going to give it some wonderful flavor. All right. Now, do I need to let this get up to simmer uncovered? Okay. So now that we have our liquid in here, we're just going to leave it over the heat, and we're going to bring it up to a simmer. Right? So remember, it's not a heavy rolling boil. It's just a few little bubbles coming up, just enough to help some of the liquid evaporate. We're going to thicken it just a hair, and then we're going to add our asparagus and our tomatoes in here. Cook that down just a little bit, and then we'll add our chicken and throw it in the oven, and it'll be ready to go. So you can see we've got some bubbles coming up here. You can see some of the steam coming off. If you can see in here, there's just teeny tiny bubbles, not super big ones coming up. Just these little bubbles just to show that we're simmering. All right? So we're going to let this simmer for just a couple minutes, just about 3 to 5 minutes, just to reduce that liquid just a little bit. And then to finish off this dish, all we're going to do is we're going to add our asparagus and our tomatoes, mix it around a little bit just to get those flavors mixing. We'll take our chicken, we'll lay our chicken breasts on top, and this is going to go in the oven, 425 degrees for only about 12 to 15 minutes. Now this new pan, it is oven safe, so we can just put the whole pan right in there. You're making your whole meal right in one dish, which is fabulous. My other favorite thing about this new pan is the whole thing is dishwasher safe, even though it's nonstick. We're going to go ahead and add our veggies, our other veggies, our asparagus and our tomatoes. We're just going to mix these around just a little bit. The other thing I love about this dish is it's so colorful. It's good to have a lot of color in your food. A lot of color means you're getting a lot of different nutrients, a big variety. Now this is also a dish that I love making with my kids for a couple reasons. One, it's so easy. They can help out with the quick slice. They can slice up those mushrooms. As they get a little bit older, they can help cut up the tomatoes and the onion. And when kids get involved in the kitchen, when you put them to work and let them help you cook, they're more apt to try some new flavors. When they see what's going in the food and they have a playing role in getting it put together, they're much more eager to try it. So this is a great way to get your kids to maybe try some things like mushrooms or asparagus that maybe you have challenged getting them to try. The other thing that's really important about getting your kids in the kitchen is that studies have shown that kids who get in the kitchen and help cook before the age of 8 are 50% more likely to make 5 meals at home every week as an adult. And we all know that the more cooking you do at home, the cheaper it will be, the healthier you will be, and you'll have that quality time with your family, which again, studies have shown that having that quality time with your family at the table helps your children to grow up, have better grades in school, stay out of trouble, and be better adults. So there's a lot of reasons why just getting them in the kitchen and helping you out, as much as sometimes we parents want to just have the kitchen to ourselves, it's really important to get them in there once in a while. From here, we have our chicken and veggies all ready to go. We are just going to move this from the stovetop right into the oven. Like I said, only about 12 to 15 minutes, then we'll take it out. We'll check the temperature of our chicken. We want about 165 degrees. We might bring it out when it's just a little under, and we can put the lid on it and just let it sit, and it'll bring it up to temperature. So let's put this in, and then we'll get our shortcake and our ice cream out and take a look and see how that's looking. Our easy strawberry shortcake is done. I took it out of the oven, and I just have it in our slow cooker stand just to keep warm, because there's nothing better than a nice warm strawberry shortcake, especially on a cool day. So you can see we've got our pieces of shortcake in here. We've got our delicious strawberry sauce. And this is going to go so well with our homemade ice cream. We're going to let this just sit here and stay warm until we're ready to serve it up. But I can't wait to show you this ice cream. Oh my gosh, this is fabulous. So when we poured everything in, I don't know if you could see it real well, but it only came up to about here in our ice cream maker. And look at this. It is full of fresh vanilla ice cream. It is all ready to go. Now, like I mentioned earlier, this is more of a soft serve consistency right now, but you can see it's definitely solidified and ready to eat. And we're just going to leave it right here in our freezer bowl until we're ready to serve this up as well. I'm going to get some of this other ice cream down in there just to keep it cold. Now, what's really great is the ice cream maker does come with a silicone lid. So I could easily just put the lid on and throw this back in the freezer for a few minutes, especially if we wanted it to solidify just a little bit more. But I do recommend, before you store the rest of your ice cream, to take it out, put it in another container and freeze it, because you want to be able to thaw this spacing out, wash it out, and get it back in the freezer so it's ready to go for your next batch. We're going to go ahead and get our chicken out of the oven, and we're going to check it. We're going to get our meal all plated up. Look at that. Delicious. So you'll see our chicken is cooked all the way through. Our asparagus is softened but still has a little crunch to it to give it texture. Our tomatoes have cooked down just a little bit, and see all this lovely sauce in here? This is your pan sauce, and this is delicious. Definitely put this right on top of your chicken. Keep it nice and moist. Serve it with just a little bit of that on there. Now, if you're making this dish and you want to just keep making it in the pan, you can, versus putting it in the oven, you can definitely continuously use your spoon and pick up those sauces and pour it on top of your chicken. All right, so let's get this all plated up and see how it looks. I'm going to take a piece of our chicken. Get some of those veggies. Remember, get a little bit of that sauce. All right, so there's a little bit of that sauce on there. And now, no dinner would be complete without a little bit of dessert. So we're going to pull out one of these pieces of the strawberry shortbread. Put that on the side here. Get a scoop of our fresh homemade ice cream. And to finish it off, we can take some more of those strawberries that are sitting in here, and we can drizzle that right on top of it all. There you go, a quick and healthy dinner and a fresh and delicious dessert all ready to go. I love this recipe. It's so quick, it's so easy, and like I said, with this dish, the chicken, the asparagus, mix it up. Try this recipe so you get to learn some of those techniques, the searing, the simmering, the sauteing, the deglazing the pan. Learn those techniques and then mix it up. If you don't really like onions, put something else in there. If asparagus isn't in season, try something else. Try up finely cut potatoes. Try peppers. Maybe try some beef or pork instead of chicken. There's endless possibilities, and it's a great, quick and easy weeknight meal that you can mix up and make many different versions. And this shortcake, of course, you could do this with any kinds of berries. The strawberries are so great. They give such a nice aroma, and that lovely shortbread, so quick and easy to make. And of course, you can't go wrong with your homemade ice cream. If you would like these recipes or want to learn more about any of the products that you saw here today, head on over to pamperedchef.com, and you can search for me, Rachel Hanson, or your local Pampered Chef consultant. And I want to thank the Sunshine Supper for having us into their amazing kitchen again today. We really appreciate you letting us use this beautiful space. And for those of you who are local in Sun Prairie, definitely make sure you come on out on a Monday night for a free meal. Thank you so much for joining us today.